Figure 6.18, passing arguments by value and by reference. In this example, we're going to demonstrate the differences between passing an argument by value to a function in C++ and passing an argument by reference using a concept called references. Now, in C++, we actually have two different ways to implement pass by reference. One is using this concept called a reference, and another is by using pointers, and we'll show you how to use pointers in a subsequent lesson. For now, we'll focus on the concept of references. So what we have in this example are two different functions, one called square by value, which receives as its argument a copy of an int value in memory, and one called square by reference, which receives an integer reference, and the ampersand in this case indicates that the parameter is being received by reference. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's take a look at how this program works. In main, we declare two integers. X is initialized to 2 and z is initialized to 4. And to help us demonstrate the differences between call by value and call by reference, we're going to implement the square by value and square by reference functions so that they both try to modify their parameter. So in the case of square by value, we'll receive an integer which we'll call number. We'll multiply number by itself and store the result in number using the times equals concatenated multiplication assignment operator, excuse me, and we'll return the value of number after we do that. And also in square by reference, we'll take its argument and multiply it by itself using the same operator. Now in the case of square by value, because number is a copy of whatever it receives as an argument, whatever the function receives as an argument, multiplying the copy by itself has no effect on the original value. On the other hand, when we say that the data type of the parameter is a reference, ampersand, a reference to an int, that means that this variable, which we've called number ref, is just an alias for its argument in memory. So let's go look at how we use these functions here. In line 16, we display the initial value of x before we call square by value. We then show you the value that's returned by square by value, and then we show you the original, the value of the variable x in memory. So if I run this program, let's take a look at the first part of the output, and we can see here that x is initially 2. The value returned by the function was 4, but x is still 2 in memory, even though square by value multiplied its argument by itself and stored the result in the argument parameter name. So again, because square by value is being called by value, a copy of the 2 is what's really being passed, and we modify the copy, not the original in memory. Now you can clearly see here for the other part of the program that z, which was initially 4 before we called square by reference, is now 16. Let's take a look at the code. And here you can see that we're outputting the value of z before we call the function. Then at line 23, we are passing z to square by reference. And you cannot tell just by looking at this function call that we're making a call that's passing the value by reference. That we need to see in the prototype of the function or in the function's header. And both the prototype and the function header have int ampersand specified inside the parentheses, which indicates reference to an integer. And also notice that we're not assigning any return value to a variable. This function returns void. So if z is a different value, once we finish the call to square by reference, z must be getting modified in the function that got called. So when we output z here at line 24, we can see that in fact it was indeed modified. And again, that is because whenever we receive an integer by reference, the parameter number ref is actually just an alias in this program for z, which was passed into the function. So z and number ref during the call to square by reference are the same variable in memory. Therefore, anything we do to modify number ref is actually modifying z in memory. So this is how we can implement pass by reference in C++ using reference parameters.